Inspirations with Nikki Jones. Nikki Jones. Sunday after service inspirations with Nikki Jones. Mrs. Jones. Inspirations with Nikki Jones. Nikki Jones. Sunday after service inspirations with Nikki Jones. Mrs. Jones.
Welcome to Sunday After Service Inspirations. I am your girl, Nikki Jones, and this is Empower Sunday on Vent Radio. Did you know that we are here every week, every Sunday? We have Empower Sunday, and we experience inspiration and education and revelation and situations.
And all the revelations, yeah.
All the shuns. We experience all of them, and we are here today, and this is one of my favorite Sundays because this is when my sisters come and they join me and they be talking and stuff. Yes. This is our my sister, your sister, because some of them are your sisters.
Facts,
and some of them are my sisters too. My Sister, Your Sister podcast. Today we are excited about our show. I want to tell you before we get into the show today that today we are also recognizing Down syndrome. This is the day. Well, actually, tomorrow is the day where we recognize Down syndrome. It's like National Down Syndrome Day, and I have a bonus son who has Down syndrome, and so you see me wearing this T-shirt today. Okay, look at my T-shirt.
Hey, I love my homie with an extra chromosome.
Yes, I love my homie with an extra chromie. His name is Thaddeus Spokenite Jones, and he is just the sweetest pie. Oh my gosh,
he is the sweetest.
So affectionate, and I just love him. He always calls me Papa, and every time he sees me, he say, "Hi, Papa." And I just love him. He's like a joy just to be around and just joy to have in my life. And this T-shirt, by the way, was made by a woman.
Hey.
And since we are celebrating women, this is Women's History Month, and we are celebrating women today. And there is a woman who has a business, and this is part of her business. She has a T-shirt line that's called Black, Beautiful, and Blessed. And so, but she also makes other T-shirts, and she designs T-shirts as well. So her name, I don't have her name. Yes, I do. Owned by D'Angela Alford and Adrian Thomas. A Black-owned apparel, T-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, tote bags, and masks. It's a company striving to encourage strength and power amongst women of all ages. And we want all of you to know that you are Black, you are beautiful, and you are blessed.
Hey,
and so if you ever see me wearing a T-shirt, I have a red one and I have a purple one, and it has like a big afro, a woman with a big afro on it, and it says BBB, and that's what BBB stands for, Black, Beautiful, and Blessed. And so I just want to give her a shout out today for designing this T-shirt for Team Thad.
I'm a BBW.
Whoop, whoop.
Team Thad.
You a baby, you a BBW.
And I am excited about it today. Listen, we're also going to send our love and our condolences to our sister who is not here today. Tamara Hardy today, unfortunately lost her brother, but we know where he is.
Yes, hallelujah.
We know where he is, and Tamara is
taking his rest
with her family, and so we're sending our love and our prayers and our condolences and
big
all the hugs.
Big hugs
to Tam, and just know that we are praying for you, our sister, and we are holding you up before the Lord. Amen.
Holding you up.
Amen.
Holding you up.
So now let's say hello to the peoples in the room. We got our engineer extraordinaire, producer, visionary of Empower Sunday, Miss April Berry.
Hey, Miss April Berry. Yeah, that should be on a T-shirt.
Yes. They're being
T-shirts
printed.
are being printed as we speak.
Hey!
Here we go.
Calvin,
that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Calvin dropped that line here when he was my guest, and it's been a roll ever since. Like we keep saying, T-shirts are being printed as we speak.
Yes.
And then we have all the way down here my sister from another Miss Randy Butler.
Miss Randy. Yes, she is.
Randy Butler.
Bless
Yes.
you, daughter. Bless you.
Yeah. She said, bless you, my daughter. She said, bless you, my daughter.
Yes.
Beloved.
And over here to my immediate right and your left, praise God.
Yes.
We have the vivacious.
The vivacious.
The vivacious.
Yeah, I like that, vivacious.
Yes.
Come on with the
Pastor
Yes.
Denise Thomas.
Single.
She is
Ready to mingle.
70. Yes. She's 70
Yes.
Ready to-
and single and
Yes.
ready to mingle.
Ready,
Yes.
ready.
Yes.
But you have to know who Jesus is.
Oh,
So I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
Put that
putting
all the way out there.
Yes.
T-shirts are being printed up right now.
As we speak.
Yes.
And now I shall relinquish the microphone
I doubt
because
that.
I want to give the honor to the person who is going to lead this conversation
Yes,
today.
yes,
In
yes.
the personage of the extraordinary Michelle Johnson.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Also single.
Yes,
And
and
ready
that's
to
also
mingle.
will be
And ready to mingle. Make sure you have all your natural teeth. Take
all your natural teeth. Yes, have Jesus and your teeth, and and Jesus will give you some teeth. So, so hey y'all, hey. So as you all may know or not know, this month has been a month of celebrating what we already know in the room because we
Yes.
are who we are. It's International Women's History Month.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
And
Yes.
today we're going to talk about something very important. It's a part of that conversation. You know, we celebrate women all year round because what? We were birthed.
See,
The
Absolutely.
woman,
see,
who she
Absolutely.
not only carried
womb
the
man.
seed, she
Come on.
Womb man.
hello,
Yes.
the
Take it out.
woman,
man.
the
Come on.
woman, but she carried that baby for 9 months.
Yes.
Yes.
Care for the baby for 9
the
months.
9
And then
months.
she birthed that baby.
Yes.
No
Okay?
charge. No
So
charge.
she was the first.
No charge.
She said, I don't know. You might get an argument about that because my mama will be like, oh, if I could charge, if I could charge. But also, women are the first inspiration of a child because she carries the child, right? So
Yes.
she gets all of the inspiration and the feeling and the emotion because they're sitting in the womb. And so, as we have seen over the years, as we have grown up, that there are some strong biases against us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We carry the baby, we birthed the baby, we raised the children, we keep
Nourished it. All of that.
but yet we're still being seen as weak. We're
Yes.
still being seen as the one that is not influential. But behind every person, there's an influential woman.
Yes, it is.
And there's several of them. It's a gang of us. See, we don't just come in ones or twos.
Hello. Hello.
In my experience, it's always a gang of women, right? And so part of this month is really about the symbol of breaking the bias. I don't know if y'all seen that they've been showing on the website. And this is about breaking down all those circumstances and situations and stereotypes and all the patriarchal and all the other things that have contributed to the narrative
Yes.
of trying to hold back the power of the woman.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Right?
Man, Come on.
And so today we want to just unpack that a little bit.
Yes.
We all have our own personal experiences with this, whether it's with our careers, whether it's within our families. Sometimes we are just seen less than in both circumstances. So I guess the first question that I want to pose to you all is, when was the first time you experienced bias against you in any circumstance? When did it hit you? When did it
I'm
occur
gonna
to
tell
you?
you right now, I couldn't get off the porch when I was a kid, but my cousin, who was a boy, could go anywhere. He could go up and down the street. He can go to the corner store. He can go to the store around the corner. He can go on the next block. But I could not get off the porch, and that was because that was from a woman. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? My mom and my grandmother didn't want me to get off the porch. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't play. You know what I'm saying? Like not like the boys could. I couldn't be in the street. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do none of those. So that was like, I mean, you know, that's at the very early age. That's my first memory, like you were asking. That's
Yes.
my first memory of like, you know, feeling like, well, the boys can do it. How come I can't do what the boys are doing?
And we had the same thing, but it was because my dad was raising us, and I was the only girl. So he always said, you know, because San Francisco, you can get up on the roof and travel the roofs and all that. And so I wasn't allowed to do it. But when he went to work, I still did. But you know, he said, because you're a girl. Because I always questioned, well, how come I can't go? And how come I? He said, because you're a girl.
what does that really mean?
Right.
When,
I can
when
do
it was a
everything-
woman that birthed me.
Anything they can do, I can do
Do
better.
No, you can't. Yes, I
You
can.
can, you can. But I think that speaks to the theme that you just brought up, which is trust.
Yeah.
Women has been seen over the years as not trustworthy, and I think it's because of the power of the influence that they have. Right?
Wow.
So I think I appreciate you bringing that up because and even in your case, it's about the trust. It's not about what the men gonna do. It's about what you will do in terms of what you can make something happen. And that just shows, that's why all the powerful women in the Bible, women move things.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
They
Yeah.
move things. What about you, Randy?
Can't
Do you
deny it.
Can't deny
Can't
it.
deny it. It's
Can't deny it.
undeniable.
It is. Women move things. That's why they like to keep us covered.
But in today's terms, before you go to Randy, it's a lot of it is intimidation because they know we can do it.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, anything that can carry something
Yes,
for 9
we can.
months.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, she said, hey, yes, we can.
I don't think it's my personal experience, like it didn't happen to me, but it's what I saw. I grew up in a church where the woman had she had to speak at a podium off to the side. She couldn't get in the pulpit. She had to
She
go
had to stay on the floor.
She had to stay on the floor. She could not put her feet in
Ooh-wee.
the pulpit. So that's when
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, okay, what's the difference between, because I had a phenomenal, they called her first lady, but she was really a pastor. I don't know why, we just call them first ladies, but she was a pastor. She pastored the congregation. Dynamic preacher, teacher, speaker, all of that. And she could not step in the pulpit. And I'm like, she preaches as well as her husband. I didn't get that. I didn't get that until I got older. So that would be my first experience with that. I was like 8 years old and I saw that.
Wow. And
In
you
church.
recognize the difference.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did.
at
Yep.
8.
Yep.
So we
In
learn
church.
early.
We
Yeah.
learn early, even though nobody explains it.
Right.
Right. But
Right.
kids ain't
Very
dumb.
early.
Kids
Right.
are not dumb.
No.
Right. No,
They're
that's
not.
true. That's true. For me, it was, I appreciate the church experience, but it was even in the home for me, like to your point, where it was like, no, go ask your cousin to do that because you can't do that. Or, oh no, he can go with the group that has the girls and the boys, but you gotta stay here and play with this one friend. And it was
Right.
just like, I never understood why the guys will always get all this latitude and
Yep.
doing the most stuff.
Yep.
And I was never even allowed to get out of the gate to even see if I would do anything
Right.
wrong or, right for that matter. So it was just always a struggle for me that there was always these 2 lanes of rules for women and men.
Do you feel that some of it, especially when we were younger, was a protective mechanism where they wanted to protect us?
I was just going to say that.
You know,
I
There's
think
a fine line
some of it, yeah.
Yeah, some
I
of
think
it
some
is.
of it has to do with
my
that.
my daddy drove, what do you call those streetcars where they had the thing going up
Yep.
to the top, and when he would go to work, the boys could go play all day. I had to be on the corner when his streetcar came by and get on that streetcar and ride with him all day.
Wow.
He wouldn't let me stay at home. I had to ride on the streetcar, and he'd look at me up and down, see if my hair's combed, see if sit down right here and just ride. I couldn't play and go like they was just running wild all day. I wanted it to be wild, but he wouldn't let me.
Yeah, but I think there's like this fundamental thing where as parents they see things and they experience things and they try their best to like protect,
shield.
right?
Yes.
To
Yep.
protect and shield. When you're really just traumatizing and passing on bad habits.
A
if
lot
you
of
will.
times that is true, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
then when you become of age or you like, well, I don't know why not, let me go out here and do it. The kid wind up or the person wind up doing the opposite.
Well,
Right. Or you end up becoming so
Well.
secretive that you don't even share what it is that you're thinking or what it is that you really want to do. You end up becoming so secretive that you be one of them. You be one of them ones. They be like, "Ooh, you better watch out for them for that one right there." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then at that at that time you don't really realize how far you delved into something, but you delved into something because you got so much time by yourself, or you got so much time to think about.
Listen, that'll preach. That'll preach. You hear me? That will preach.
April made me preach last week. I ain't preaching today.
You did. Both of y'all did last week.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but
I even had the shout music.
Ah!
But she didn't go
And
there.
then-
I wouldn't have to go there. I wanted to say, I wanted to say,
You probably
give
already shouted Sunday morning while you.
Child.
right.
I try to get mine in by myself.
I know that's right. I know that's right. And it was funny. I was just sitting here, just thinking about how even with the bias around sex, like boys knew or had conversation. It was expected for them to know. Right? It was expected. But when it came to us girls, you know why nobody want to sit down and have no conversation with you
No.
because they thought you was going to go out there and do something.
Yeah.
And it's like, information is empowering.
Yes.
Like, it's not about you getting permission to go out there and do anything. So, have you guys experienced that, or what did that feel like when you
Absolutely.
got grown and you looked back and you was like,
Absolutely.
what was the secret about? Somebody should have told me sooner.
Absolutely. And, I mean, there's
I'm
still
almost
a.
shame. I'm almost shamed.
You almost.
Because I know I was 17 years old, and I still thought they cut your stomach open to take your babies out.
Wow.
Sometimes they
Well-
do.
She said that still happens.
They still do that.
I didn't think that this conversation was gonna go that way. I wasn't expecting that. Well, Red,
You know, my grandmother gave me the talk. You know, because my mom didn't. My mom, she talked. My mom talked to me about being clean. You know, being clean and looking a certain way. You know, dressing a certain. Make sure you got your tights on. Make sure you look like a little girl. Like she dressed me like a little girl.
Yeah.
That girdle.
Yeah.
I didn't have to wear no girdle back then, but I wore a slip.
you were a slip.
I had a
slip, a full
as a
slip.
little girl.
A
I had a
full
full
slip.
slip,
A full
and a
slip.
half slip,
Yeah.
and a camisole. As
Yes.
a little girl, I had all three pieces. Okay,
Okay.
and I still wear them today.
I do too.
Hello, somebody.
Hello.
I
I'm
ain't
still
doing
wearing
it.
We know that because your husband announced it on Facebook.
He told your
And
secret.
did. Anyway, so I forgot what I was saying.
You tell about your grandmother.
Yes, my grandmother gave me. That's your fault. My grandmother gave me the talk. You know what I'm saying? And really, she didn't really give me that talk until I was out about to graduate high school and go to college.
That's what I'm
You know what I'm saying? That's when she was like, "Look at here, let me tell you something. When you get to college, because you know you leaving here, you going away from the house, and you got to stay on campus."
Right.
She was like, "You gonna be tempted." And I was like, "Tempted, Grandma? What you talking about?" She's like, "You better go on and get you some birth control pills. I'll be coming back here pregnant, talking about you didn't know what you was doing."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "I don't want no birth control pills, Grandma."
Don't that make it seem like it's something that you're just about to go, I mean, for real, hell and how,
But
I
listen,
mean,
by
hell in a
then though, my
handbasket.
cousin had already done a whole lot of stuff. That, you know, ain't nobody had a talk with him, but y'all having this talk with me at 17. So yeah, it was some protective there, but at the same time there was a lot that they were allowed to do that I wasn't.
But you hit it, Michelle, when you said information is empowering.
Yes.
When you have the relationship with your daughters where you explain to them their bodies
Yes.
and how their bodies work
Yep.
and what arouses their bodies and what you don't want to let a boy do, you know, and we just act like we just scared to say that stuff. They got to know that stuff. 'Cause
They need to know it.
You know, they need to start early with co-ed so they learn how to be around a boy
Yes.
and not be, you know, it's just
And not feel like the only reason why you're in a room with a boy is because of something sexual.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I'm not
Yeah.
equal. You know, when I was listening to you talk, Nikki, one of the things that we need to do to like break the bias is to stop perpetuating it. Women,
Right.
stop perpetuating it. Let's stop perpetuating it and bringing up the old myth and start empowering our young women with information.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with your body. You should
Right.
not be ashamed of it.
Right.
And you in a room with a boy don't mean you gonna take it all off
Right.
and entice the men. Like, come on
Right.
now. Like, if you empower somebody with information,
Right.
and give them support.
Self-worth, because
And
I think a lot of
self-worth,
times,
yes.
you know, we tell them what they can't do, but we don't tell them why. Like, you're worth more. Like, I didn't hear that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not discrediting what they did. They did what they did.
They
back
did what
then.
they
You know what
knew.
I'm saying?
They did
But
what they knew.
they never gave me reasons like, you know, your self-worth, you're worth more than that. This is, you know, you should treat your body a certain way. You know, don't let anybody abuse it like that, or
Right.
you know, you're not mature enough, you know, in your mind or in your thought process or whatever age you are to make those kinds of grown decisions that cause consequences that you're not able to bear.
Right.
You know, nobody gave me that kind of information. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? All they just said, don't do it. Don't let
Don't
nobody
let
do
it touch
this.
it. Don't let
Right.
nobody
Don't
touch
it. Don't you touch it. Don't let him touch it. And you know, it was just.
They made it shameful when it's not shameful.
Exactly.
I mean, you have to put it in the proper context,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
when you do it, who
Right.
you do it with. But to make it so shameful at all
Right.
costs, lost.
Right.
I mean, who is not gonna go out there and be like, well, what's so shameful about it? What?
Because a lot of them had experiences where they were molested and
Yes.
touched by uncle so and so
Yes.
and this and the
Yeah,
other.
with
So
the-
their first experience was
Yep.
always a shameful one. So they
Yes.
try to project that onto
Yes.
the kid.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of that comes from, I think.
But I think that's part of breaking the cycle.
Right.
We can break the bias if we can break some of these cycles.
And then the biggest competition that we have today is social media.
Yes.
If you're
the
letting
exposure.
Man.
social media teach our young girls, they
And
it's,
they're not
it's so
under-
perverted and
It's-
twisted
Yes.
and
Everything is.
it's just
Up is
sad.
down,
point.
right is left.
Because
Yeah.
everybody's so
To your
busy,
point.
instead of having those face-to-face, dinners where we all
Come
put the
on,
phones
yes,
away and we
yes,
talk and have the
yes,
conversations.
yes.
We just give them a phone and let them go on about their business.
Or a
we so
tablet.
busy. We got our
With their
own
own
things going on. We got
Yep.
businesses and we got all the things we got going on, but we don't want to have those face-to-face conversations with our kids at the dinner table. That's something
And that was
easy that
the
we can do.
sacred.
Yes.
But you bring up another point. So we talked about trust. We talked about breaking the cycle. It's about values,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? It's about
Yeah.
values
Yeah.
and those
Right.
important opportunities to share your values behind this.
Yeah.
So that way that could get into them. You're building the cornerstone of their life by giving them those values
Absolutely.
to help break some of
Right.
the biases that sometimes we pass on to the generations below us, right? And there's nothing wrong with starting early, right?
Absolutely
You have
not.
to.
And calling a thing a thing. My mother, I'm gonna tell y'all something. My mother used to call my vagina.
Mm-hmm. That's the proper
how your-
medical term.
Look how
You know how I was
a
trained.
pocketbook.
No,
Your pocketbook.
no, she called it a big bird. I thought a big bird. A big bird. So when I was watching Sesame Street, I was
There's my vagina.
I was like,
Bright and yellow.
I was like,
No.
I'm lost. I'm lost.
I was looking. I was like, the big bird. That's big. Oh my, what? Any instructions?
Big Bird must be inside. Big Bird.
So that what Big Bird look like outside?
But to my point, we need to call a thing a thing.
But
We
you know
need to
what's
teach-
important about that too, Michelle? In a court of law,
Uh-huh.
let's say there was some molestation and you had to go to a court of law,
They will use
and
those
they
type
asked you
yeah.
what he touched my big bird.
Yeah.
It's not gonna stand.
Exactly.
They don't know what a
Joshua
big bird is.
calls his penis a penis.
When-
I don't care who it offends. It's the proper medical term. It's not ding ding. It's not a thing thing. It's a penis.
When Tim was 2 years
It's not a
old-
microphone or a disco stick.
No,
Well.
no. We had a guest from California, and she took him to the bathroom, and she came out just on the floor. I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "Well, I was trying to zip his pants up." He said, "Ooh, be careful! Don't zip up my penis." He was 2 years old.
Yeah,
It's a penis.
it's a penis.
It's a penis.
That's what it is.
That's the medical term.
Yeah.
But we were not, again,
No, we
tried.
It's not a wee wee.
It's not a disco stick. Okay.
No.
It's not a microphone. But
It is definitely not Big Bird.
It's not Big Bird.
No.
And I grew up for years. Like, I got this big bird. You know?
Wow.
And
You never look for no feathers or nothing?
I did, well, you know what I thought? Wait. You know what I thought with the feathers? I was like, but that don't look like Big Bird's feathers.
Well, is it supposed to be
I
yellow?
was right. I was like, is it going to be blonde anytime soon?
Wow.
Lord have
Wow.
mercy. Call them things what
they
they
wanted to
is
have the
now.
conversation to keep you as a kid, and
Yeah.
they minimize the medical terminology.
There's
and
no
what-
shame associated with that.
But
it's
that was
medically
it. It was
correct.
shame.
Right.
Exactly.
It was
Exactly.
shame. They try to
Wow.
shame you not to show your stuff.
And it's perpetuated because
It
again,
is.
like you were saying before, it's passed down generation. Because my aunt used to call it Kit Kat. She used to call it the Kit Kat. So when I saw the candy bar Kit Kat, I was like, oh, okay.
Give me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar.
So you meet a guy and he wants some Kit Kat, you be like, okay.
He either wanted that or Big Bird.
I can't get past it.
I know.
Oh my God.
Girl, Big Bird. And when she started to teach me about my menstrual and everything, that's when it became Oscar. So she used
Sesame Street for
Street.
real.
she
like-
used Sesame Street for real.
but now you a garbage can.
That's if you don't take care of yourself down there.
Oh.
Well,
I guess there's
But you
some
know,
wisdom to
Michelle-
that.
Wait a minute, y'all. Look at Nikki.
But
I will never watch Sesame Street again.
not the same
same
way.
Not the same way. Sorry to all of our listeners, but this is what has happened to me.
But at least your mom was trying to teach you something.
Right.
When I tell
That's
you it
good.
was just a blackout at my house.
Ooh.
I remember one time something was going on down there, and so I thought, well, I'll just put some alcohol.
Oh.
Baby, when I tell you they probably heard me, and that's kind of then my mom's gonna say, well, why would you do that? Well, I don't know nothing about what to do. You ain't taught me nothing about what to do. I
Right.
put that alcohol, I can still remember. I'm scarred for
Oh.
life.
Yeah,
For
you
life.
should be.
Woo!
That would be a night no one should ever
You
forget.
chafe and you put some alcohol.
Ooh.
But that's the thing, like, they should not have ostracized us for things that we were born with. Like, you got to know how to maintain it, care
Absolutely.
for it, talk
Absolutely.
about it. If you talked about, if you would have walked up to your mama and say something wrong down there, she would have went immediate to the negative. Like, who was
Right.
touching you down there? What
Right.
happened?
Right.
Who touched you? What
You
did
ever,
you do?
you ever fell on the boy's bike?
Yes, on that bar.
And,
on the
and then
TNT.
you bleed. That was my mama. Who touched you? What? Did, nothing. The bike touched me. That's what. That's why I don't ride a boy's bike today.
I cannot with the people, y'all. I cannot with the people. I cannot with the people. So, I know many of us, aside myself, I raised some nieces and some nephews, but y'all raising children. How is this conversation landing on you in terms of the conversations you want to have with your children about biases? Because they don't go away.
No.
They don't, you know, it ain't, you can't go take a class and it's wiped out. We carry these things. Now, what we can do is be informed and recognize them and be transparent about them when they show up, you know, when we're making decisions or having conversations or communicating with people. So as we continue to talk about this, how are you thinking about your conversations with your children or your nieces or your nephews about biases and helping them understand at an early age we have them, but we can be accountable and recognize them when they're at work?
Girl, that's, I mean, for me, my conversation with my son, with my oldest son, Ian, he's such a an inquisitive child, so he
Okay.
asks a lot of questions.
That's good.
And so I answer them as honestly as I can, you know, within his you know, his age range, what is age appropriate for him. But I don't cut teeth on him. I just tell him this is this and that is that. You know what I'm saying? You have a penis, make sure you wash up under your arms. You know what I'm saying? You have those kind of conversations. Look, you're gonna sweat down there. It's time for you to start wearing, you know what I'm saying, this, that, or the other. Get you some breathable underwear. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, get you some some cologne or get you some lotion. You know, if you wanna smell better, you're gonna have to do what you need to do in terms of your natural body. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
because that chemistry change.
Absolutely. And he's going through, you know, some changes right now. You know,
Okay.
he don't talk about it, but I can see it. You know what I'm saying? And so we just have those kind of conversations, you know, and then his father has conversations with him and Joe has conversations with him about, you know, what are you doing with your body? You know, now he's all into brushing his hair, you know what I'm saying, keeping them waves going, you know. He done talked about a little girl, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that, you know.
Well, let me probe a little bit deeper because I guess I want to get at the fact that how are you going to talk about women and in the natural form of biases? Like, how are you having these conversations with them about the interaction with the opposite sex and honoring women because they're being raised by y'all?
Yeah.
I was just honest. Period.
Okay.
My sons, the boys would come to my house because I was just honest with them. You know, I talked to my son about sex. You know, when I found a porn video. You know, he didn't know what he's doing because he threw it on top of the trash. You know, and I said, where did this come from? Mom, somebody put it in my book bag. And he went to U of D Jesuit. And I said, now here's the thing about that. They might have thought it was a joke, but it could end up getting you kicked out of school.
Right.
And so then when he got to masturbation age, we had to deal with that, you know. And so you know, he came down, you know, he came downstairs one time and he told me the man across the street, he said, well, Mom, Bernard told me to use my hand. You know, I tried to cut Bernard's head off. You don't pay for no bill in this house. You don't tell my son, you know, Bernard told me to use my hand. You know,
You said, hold on, the village, you can only go so far.
and I think he was 15 then, you know.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, we had the conversations. You know, I went a little bit too far. I told him, you know, he couldn't bring no white girl home. But, you know. Y'all pray for me because...
But that's a bias. But that's a bias.
Don't
right?
do it
But that's a
as a
bias.
Yes.
I just, you know, I just didn't want him to
That's a
get
bias.
caught up. So,
And ain't nothing wrong with that. You
I put
know
that
your
bias.
bias.
But Mom, we're Christians. We're supposed to love everybody. You heard what I said.
I can't love you, Becca.
You know what? You have to be careful because
And I said things to him like this. I said, you be careful. Because if a girl gets your penis in her mouth, you're going to think you died and went to heaven. That's how I talk to him.
Yes.
That's how I talk to him. You know, so that's probably why he didn't have it. He got a girl pregnant at, he's 35. So you well know what you're doing now at 35. My job is done.
Right.
But it wasn't when he was in high school. It wasn't when he was young.
Yeah.
Because that's how I talk to him. And that's how I talk to the boys. And sometimes I would talk to him and he'd say, how about them Pistons? You know, he just...
change the subject.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
you have to be just honest with them, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that because I know with my nieces and nephews, especially the boys, I was like, you came from a woman. And if you're going to be with a woman, you need to understand you got to respect that woman.
Absolutely.
She's your equal. And she's smart, she's capable, all of that stuff. Like, you cannot sit up here and espouse like, oh, you know, she's not that smart, she's not smarter than me. Or, you know, she's a girl, she can't jump higher than me. Boy, get your mama mad enough and see how high she jump.
You better watch Love. You better watch Love and Basketball.
Hello. What
I
about
can
you?
reach your neck. If I can't get nothing else, I
Or
can
bust the
reach your neck.
kneecaps if you're taller than me, like it's something exposed. But the point is, I think it's like for us to be very aware about the things we pass down to our kids.
Right. And I already am. My kids are 3 and 8 months, so I got time. You know, we got time, but we already. So we teach Joshua, you know, you don't play rough with your sister. You protect her. You're her protector when daddy's not around. And even other women, like little girls that he plays with, you protect girls. You don't play rough with them. And when we're transparent. We're honest with him. When he asks us when he asks us a question, we'll say no. He'll say why. We're not the people that say because I said so, because he don't understand that. Why is because you'll hurt yourself. Why is because of this. So, you know, we don't shun the question why right now. Later on, it'll be because I said so, Negro. But right now, this is why, Joshua, because there are consequences associated with that. So we're honest, we're transparent with him, and we teach him, you know, you protect girls. You know?
But are y'all concerned about what biases y'all passing down to them? Do you catch yourself when you're talking about certain things?
I did
You're like,
when Ian was I think he was like 4 or 5, and we were talking about like his favorite colors and stuff like that, and he was saying like purple and pink and red, and I caught myself like you know
You like brown, boy. You know you like brown.
you like blue, you like blue. You are a boy. You know, but those are the colors that he likes. And so, you know, so I remember catching myself and allowing him to just say whatever he liked.
Yeah.
And, you know, and even after like recently when he told me that he likes one of his classmates, you know, one of his classmates in school. And, you know, I didn't say anything. You know, he said, because when he came to me, you know, he said, so what would you say? This is how he said it. We in the car, because we always have great conversations, Ian and I in the car. And he said, so what would you say if I told you I like somebody? Like, that's how he said it. Right? All right. And I said, okay. All right, well, you know, tell me about him. And I didn't say him, her, you know, so I said, just tell me about him. And he said, well, it's a girl. I said, okay.
Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah, Lord. We bless you.
we all was holding our breath. We were like, and mic drop. I was like, this gonna be a hold and I'm gonna be.
And so but wait though. Then I said, okay. I said, well, you know, what's her name? And he said, her name. I'm not gonna say her name. And I was like, oh, okay.
Rebecca.
Lolita.
Becky
Rashawn,
with the good hair.
I said, okay, so I can tell, you know, I said, so describe her to me. And so he described her, you know, what she looks like or whatever. I was like, okay, so she's, you know, she's Caucasian or whatever. And I was like, okay.
Don't let him talk to Pastor D.
I said, so tell me what you like about her, you know. And so, but he started off saying she's very smart. He said, I like her personality. And this is what he said that tripped me out. He said, I've been watching her since I was in the 4th grade.
I'm done with Ian.
Wow.
You done with Ian?
I cannot with Ian.
You can't. You sure?
Oh, you've been watching her since the 4th grade.
Now, what grade is he in now?
5th.
Oh.
So they were in.
Well, at least
they were in 4th grade
girl.
together in the same class, but
Okay.
now they're not in the same class. But they're still in the same school.
He's observant.
He's observing, and he's like, she's funny, and you know, he just went on to tell me what he likes about her, and I was like, okay.
It's some grown men that can't articulate
I
that.
was just about to say that.
It's grown men that can't articulate
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
But my point is, I didn't say anything like, "Oh, you better date a black woman," or you know,
You better not be thinking about no girl right now.
I just say no, you know what I'm saying? And of course he said, we don't even get to talk that much, Ma. He's like, we have to talk in between when we have mass breaks. He said, and that's when we usually talk. So it's like those kinds of things. I just listen as opposed to projecting.
That's a good
And
point
I
too.
think that as long as
That's
I
a
do
good
that,
point.
then I continue to keep that communication
Yes.
line open with him,
Yes.
and be able to listen to him. And now he can come to me without question,
Without fear, right?
exactly.
Because he's not gonna worry about you shutting it down or cutting him off.
But you always. I just wanted to say something about what Randy said about Booger. I call him Booger. Saying why, and I think it's so important that we allow them to do that.
Yeah.
And
Be
to
inquisitive.
your point, Nikki. Sometimes when you said age appropriate, there's times when I went and bought the little book to try to it's age appropriate to teach my son about where do babies come from when he asking me at 4 years old.
Lord have
I
mercy.
was like, Jesus, where do babies come from? He 4. So I went and bought the book, and I'm going over it. And I'm all satisfied when we got to the end. He said, yeah, but how do those little squiggly things get to the egg?
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Wow,
Jesus.
science. He wanted the
Little
science.
squiggly thing.
Oh.
I call them the squiggles.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you need to. I don't know what to say. I'm
You're
blown
right
away.
though. You're right.
Yeah,
And
but-
Ian was 4 when he asked me, "Mommy, was I breastfed?" I was like,
What?
No. And then he asked me why. Like, why wasn't I breastfed? I was like, "Cause I ain't had no milk, man. I ain't had
No milk at the time.
The dried up.
Right. I didn't have that kind of milk, baby. I ain't had that kind of milk. I ain't had that kind of milk. But I really do appreciate you guys like being super transparent about your relationships with your sons, because I think it's increasingly important for us to have
And
good
don't
conversations.
judge me. Don't judge me.
Right, don't judge.
I'm not judging.
Not
I'm
judgment, but I think it's important to have these conversations with our
Absolutely.
boys about bias and how
Yeah.
to, and how that plays into how we select people to be in our lives.
Absolutely.
Right? I think that's critically important to, like, as you allow your children to unfold and experience that. I appreciate what you said, Nikki, not to project like what you said earlier about some of the past hurts on our kids that are centered around some of those biases,
Right.
but hear them out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So then you can help unpack and allow them to continuously be inquisitive
Yes.
in a healthy way. Better
In a
y'all
healthy
than the
way.
Yuba tuber.
Yes.
Right? Better than
Exactly.
y'all than the
Yes.
Yuba tuber.
And my son's school now, they just sent out a letter saying that we're going to be talking about, home ec. We're going to be talking about the body and for 5th graders. And, and they said, this is the information that we're going to be presenting. And we want you to, make sure, give us your permission, saying that you're okay with your child being exposed to what it is that we're going to teach.
To encourage you, Nikki, in relationship and communication with your child. My son up at 16, he still would ask me stuff. Mom, the boys at school said all women smell like fish. Well, he probably asked me because he know his mama don't smell like fish. I said, no, all women don't smell like fish. And then I sat down and explained, that's a woman who has not taken care of her body for days.
Yeah.
It's not no one day, all women don't smell, but
Right.
they will come and they will ask you so they can get the truth out of that locker room, because that locker room stuff.
Well, that's the biases, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
at play and at work with
Yeah.
these things. And I think that's another good point. Open communication with your kids is like
Yes,
paramount.
yes.
You
Absolutely.
cannot let them just go around being afraid to talk to you
Absolutely.
about
No.
these life circumstances. Because I was afraid to talk to my mother about a lot of stuff. A lot
Me
of stuff
too.
she
I
was, not
afraid.
having.
Well, I was
She
scared.
was not having it. She was not having it. If I
Yes.
came and talked about a boy, sex, something wrong with my big bird, it'd have been more than a no shit.
Yeah.
It would have been more.
Charmaine too busy bringing in my uncles, my different uncles every week.
Yeah.
So she wasn't thinking about what I'm doing because she bringing in a different uncle every week. So I'm
Ooh,
like,
not every week.
yeah, pretty often.
But see,
Pretty often.
maybe she was doing Bible study. So go. You said no, not
No
happening.
Bibles in my house. Till I got saved.
Glory.
And you brought the Bible, then she kicked you out.
Listen, I brought the Bible and she kicked me out.
Yeah, and that's how it goes. You know what I really do appreciate about women and the work that they do is that my mom was the one that like brought me to Jesus. And I was, and I know that like with the bishop, he talked about his aunt. What are some of the influential women in you all's life along that journey of your spiritual path? Because I really
Definitely. My mom, definitely, you know, and even in her, even in that era where, you know, the holiness was what more on the outside, you know, we couldn't, you know, we had to wear skirts really long. And, you know, you had to wear browns and
you
beige.
had to have the
and stuff
doily
like
or
that.
whatever, the prayer cloth over your lap.
But, you know, no matter what, my mom never paraded men in front of me. You know what I'm saying? I never saw her being in a position where, you know, her integrity was was compromised. And she always made sure, now it was by hook or by crook, but I knew the word, you know what I'm saying? Like she made sure that I had a foundation that came straight from the word. So as a child at 6 years old and above, you know, I was memorizing scripture, you know what I'm saying? The wages of sin was the first one. Romans 6:23. The wages of sin, minimum wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. You know what I'm saying? Through Jesus Christ our Lord. You know what I'm saying? I knew those kind of scriptures and from a very early age, and so very much influential. And this person right here
Facts.
has been one of the biggest influences in my life.
Preach.
I'm just saying, you know, since from
T-shirts
the
are being
time
printed up
of
as we
a
speak.
teenager. Yes, as a teenager, she's been teaching the word all of her life, as far as I'm concerned, and she's been teaching the word since I was a teenager, and so I sat under her tutelage. How you say that word?
Tutelage.
That word. Yep. I've sat under her, and you know, and just there's been several others, you know, in my life, but yes, a lot of women.
Lots of women.
Lots of women.
And I would even say most recently, you all have been super inspirational. I remember meeting you all for the first time through Tam.
Yeah.
And I was like, woo! It was like, okay, all right, so this is what you're saying, Lord, right? Like, you want me back up under this thing with these women. And I was like, wow. And look at me now. I'm a big girl. I'm a big girl. Did that? She brought me, brought me to Pastor Dean. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that at all. Because after the first prayer call, I called Tim and I was like, y'all some wailing women. Y'all stay on the wall. I was like, is there a class? I slipped down the wall 15 minutes into it. I was like, oh no, Jesus. I don't think I'm going to make it, Jesus. I don't think I'm going to make it, Jesus. Oh my God, they going to kick me out the group. But praise be to God that these are some nurturing women under Jesus.
Absolutely.
What about you, Randy? You're a pastor, do you?
I guess coming up early would have been my aunt. She got saved from drugs and alcohol, and she just started going to church, and the whole family followed her to church. So she was an evangelist in her own right and didn't even know. I probably need to call her and tell her that might save her from some stuff she's going through now. But she led the whole family. So it would have been her growing up. But then when I got to Embassy 21, and we had a podcast last year where we talked about this, Pastor D.
Yes.
21, first time I heard somebody standing up there teaching, just flat-footed, no gimmicks, no tricks, no nothing like that, and was transparent.
Yes.
I said, she telling the story. She
Like
preaching
it is.
Jesus, and she helping people on a practical level.
Yes.
And I said,
tangible.
that resonated with me so much because I hadn't seen that before. And I was like, that's my gift.
Yes.
And so to see her displayed like that, I was like, wow, that really encouraged my walk. So shout out to Pastor D.
Pastor
Sitting
D.
right here,
That's right.
living legend.
This one right here. Birthday coming up.
Yeah.
Yes. So who influenced you?
I you know what? I didn't get a lot of influence. I got influence like at 16. As I said, my mom was a Rolling Stone, whatever they call the women. I know Papa was a Rolling Stone. And so we literally, the way God worked it, we moved from LA to a little city called Menlo Park because she moved with a man. We didn't even have any place. All the kids had to be split up and live with somebody different because they didn't even have no place for us to live.
Wow.
And while there, his sister was saved. This is how God set me up. His sister took me out of my fast life and put me up here in a little country town where I know nobody. But his sister was saved, and she took time with me.
Amen.
First time I had a grown woman take time with me. And I used to go over and help her. You know how you, as a teenager, you don't do nothing at your house, but you'll go down the street and help them because they validate you. I'd help her wash dishes and do all that.
Right.
And so she asked me to go to church. And I went. And I ended up getting saved and heard about the rapture. And I remember I was helping her clean, and I came out the kitchen and everybody was gone. I thought I missed the rapture. And she was the person that was the most influential in my life, caused me to get saved, and then like Randy said, I led my family to Christ. You know,
Yes.
after that, but that wasn't. I was 16 years old by the time that happened.
Wow.
Wow.
Never too late.
Never.
Never too late to
Never.
walk with Jesus. Never too late. I keep telling you, Nikki, you sleeping on my skills. I think I can write some things.
Everybody can write, honey. Everybody can write. Everybody can't sing, but everybody can
right.
write.
No, I cannot sing. Well, I won't say that. That's like saying you're not an artist or creative. You might just be in your own power of that.
Yeah.
You might not be a Luther, but you certainly.
Well,
you gotta
Luther
say,
ain't Luther no more.
Well, I got a
so-
question because we've been talking about, you know, how gender biases play a role at home and it starts there. But what if we don't catch it at home and it ends up spilling over into like the workplace and
Yeah,
church and
that's
that
real.
kind of thing? What are some of our experiences with that and how we dealt with that?
oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Gender biases in the workplace.
Well, you know,
or at
there's
church.
not equal pay yet.
Exactly.
We're still fighting for equal pay for
But it's
women.
on the floor, though, y'all. It's on
It's
the
on the
floor.
floor.
It's on the floor.
It's on the floor, but we are still fighting for equal pay.
Which
We
is
are.
so ridiculous.
It
What do
is.
they use? What do they use to support?
Exactly. To
Not-
justify
Yeah,
not
what
paying.
do they use to justify?
They have
They're
to
biased.
acknowledge that it exists first.
Right,
And
right.
I don't even think they do that yet. Like, I think that has been the
Right.
biggest
Because
struggle.
we're always looked at as the weaker sex. I mean, when
Absolutely.
you think about like even women in the workplace, they relegated women to certain jobs, and that a woman who was trying to do technology, or even when you look at what was the popular movie with the black woman scientist who sent the first.
Oh, Hidden Figures.
Yeah, like they were behind the scenes. They were not getting any call outs, shout outs, or anything like
No.
that. So, you know, in the beginning, it was about, you know, allowing women to do certain things. Or again, this is why women were behind most of the influential men in America. That is just not cliche. That's real.
Yeah.
There's some powerful women behind movers and shakers of this country
Absolutely.
that got things done, and that is real. And you still deal with that today. And don't be black. Don't be anything else but white. Because then you have all the other biases around. If we're passionate about something, we're angry. Right? If we speak up, we're loud. We're unapproachable. You know, woman in general, her voice, if it's too soft, then she's being perceived as, you know, being weaker.
Yeah.
And so the best combat to that is calling it out.
Yeah.
Is really calling it out. And you can bring up trainings and learnings about biases, but if you don't call it out, if you don't make it visible,
You
then
have
we'll
to
continue
create
on.
an experience for people to see it on themselves. And I mean, I don't even know how to do that, but I'm just saying, like you were saying, calling it out. Even if you call it out, sometimes they can try to argue against that. But
They
if
can.
there's an experience that they have where they can see their bias in action, like they see it, like they see everything else in action, then they can't deny it. Like,
But
if
you're
they-
talking about making it personal,
Yeah.
right? Making it personal, because what's so interesting to me is that you could do that to some woman on a job, but dark on it if you were there and somebody was doing that to your mom. We are so conditioned to not see what is seen as a country. We have been conditioned to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important, even if nothing happens in that moment, by you having your own voice to call it out, it opens up the floodgate. And so it gives everybody else a permission to feel free to say the same thing.
Yeah.
To call it out. And I'm not denying that there's a personal experience that really hit home, because a lot of times we learn a lot of stuff when it happens to us, right?
Right.
And that's true, and I'm not taking anything from
Absolutely.
it, but it got to be a both and.
Right.
We got to teach our girls, when somebody is telling you that you're weaker than, or you're not smart enough, or whatever it is, you can't be in tech. You can't be an engineer. You can't be the first woman on the moon. You got to let them know. Speak up.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the scripture? Speak it as though.
Speak those
Things
things
that
that be
be-
not as though they
don't-
were. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what we got to do.
Yeah. Until we get there.
Yep.
Because I was when what's her name? Mary, is it Barrett? GM General Motors.
Mary Barra.
Mary, yeah.
Mary Barra.
Wow.
Barbara.
When she that blew me away.
When
Because
she
that
became,
was, that
Oh.
was that just like, completely changed a lot of things. But I think that in the church, I've had the experience as Randy said earlier, they just kind of didn't have a place for women. They didn't even have titles. Everybody was an evangelist.
Or missionary at my church. Everybody was a missionary at my church.
They didn't know what to call
But didn't
you.
go
Right.
on no missions.
No
though.
mission.
So they didn't know what to call
They
you.
went from
Certainly
Detroit
they
to
didn't know what
Dearborn.
it-
That was the
Right,
mission.
That was the mission.
They went from the pulpit
And
or
I'll
the
still go
congregation
places
to
and they'll
the,
say, we're going to ask evangelists. I'll just be cringing like I'm not.
I know.
I'm not any, that's just not who
Yeah.
I am.
You a
But
pastor.
they didn't know what to call us, so they didn't know what to do with us, where to place us.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so the women couldn't sit in the pulpit, the men could. And so it just wasn't ever a battle that I wanted to fight. I didn't care because I felt like wherever my voice was going to be heard,
it was gonna be heard.
it was going to be heard. So I didn't fight the battle. But I saw God break down those barriers a lot in churches.
Because he used
Right.
women throughout the Bible to do some amazing
Yeah.
things, and I don't know how
Yeah.
you could overlook that.
Yeah.
And
First of all, to carry the Christ, right?
She
How about
carried
that?
him.
My
yes,
God.
she did. Yes, she did.
How
Yes, she
about
did.
that?
So so to overlook all of that and still not be able to give women in the church titles, or that you had all these extra layers of things y'all had to do,
Yeah.
right, compared to the men in the church.
A lot of time we talk about gender bias, this is a man's world. We think it's a man diminishing a woman. But my experience has been women trying
That's what
to marginalize
It's
and diminish me
perpetuated.
in
That's what I
church
said earlier.
and at
You
work
do.
because you
Wow.
either see me
Yes.
as a threat or something like that.
Yeah.
No,
Intimidation.
exactly.
Yeah,
Or you
yeah.
intimidated
That's
by me.
sad. That's
Yeah.
sad.
So
That's sad.
yeah, that's been my
Instead of
experience.
seeing it as a benefit to the whole,
Right.
right? As a benefit to the whole. I just don't know how you forget like a woman birthed you. So that alone to me would just give you an indication.
Right.
That's how you got here.
That's how you
Right.
got. There's no
Right.
other way you can get here.
Right.
Somebody got to push you out or take you out.
Right. I think of a line from Hamilton every time, like, the world is wide enough for me and you. We can all eat together. You ain't got to step on my neck to get ahead.
Hello, but that intimidation is just it's such a sad thing to me.
It
Right.
is.
When a person is intimidated and they want to tear down something.
Right.
It's just so sad
That's because
to me.
worth is not taught.
and
Self-worth
because
is not taught.
Exactly, because if you understand who you are,
Exactly.
you're not intimidated by
Right.
I'm gonna give you a piece of this sweet potato pie.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody can
Thank
Got
you.
some. You
Yeah,
got
thank you.
'cause
Thank you.
know
I want some of your pie.
Right.
Yes.
You can't do what I do, and I can't do what you do.
But
So-
together,
Yes.
together,
Exactly.
oh my
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Right.
What they say, if you have all each individual finger is mighty, but you put those fingers together, it can make a mighty blow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you got to think. I mean, this is what God wanted us to do anyway.
Right.
Absolutely.
He wanted us to be together,
Absolutely.
work together. He was not designed to be by ourselves and do
No.
things alone. That's what Bishop was talking about a couple of
That's
weeks ago.
why he created
We're
us.
That's why he
interdependent,
can- yeah.
covenant,
I
all
think he
of
said
that.
he used
Yes.
the term bonding. I think he
Yes,
used
bonding.
Yeah, he
Yes,
used the term
yes,
bonding.
yes.
And being more concerned about the we and us
Yeah.
as
collective.
opposed to just,
Yes.
just the I.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know, you're not alone. And that's the devil wanting you to feel that way, but you're not alone. And a woman should not be seen as something less than
Right.
in order for you to feel good.
Yeah, because
Damn.
I shrank once before. I ain't never doing it again.
Never.
To make somebody comfortable, I learned that lesson. Well,
Randy.
I ain't doing it. Do you hear? I say I ain't shrinking no more.
T-shirts are being printed up as we speak.
You know, whoever
Because it
needs.
doesn't serve you.
Exactly.
It doesn't serve you.
No.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to have position. You don't have to have title. You don't have to have none of that.
Right.
But if you walking in what God, let me
Yeah.
go.
Yes!
This is what I'm talking about. She about to put us on the wall,
Go ahead.
people.
Come on,
That's
come on.
it.
Go
She about to put
ahead.
us on the wall, people.
Go ahead. We
it.
got like 2 more minutes. Go ahead and give us the
That's right.
final word for today.
But
Go
I'm
ahead.
serious. I just don't care about none of that no more.
Right.
Being up front and having a
Yes.
title. I don't care about that. If I can speak what God told and touch the people that He has ordained me to touch,
Yeah.
that's what's important.
That's
Yeah.
it.
I
That's
go
the
home
true.
happy.
That's the
Yes,
true
it.
I go
treasure.
home happy.
That's the
That's
true
it.
treasure. That's the
Yes, I
true
don't care about
treasure.
all
That's
that
it.
stuff.
Oh,
So
that's right.
there it is, y'all.
There
We
it
might
is.
have to have a part two. Because it's a lot going on up here. I feel the Lord using their spirits against this gender bias against women. Glory to
Yes,
God. Thank you,
yes.
Lord God. You touching me right now.
Because another woman
She
would
backed
sit
up
back
on it.
with whatever God has placed in her, and she would look at the exaltation of men, and she would say, "Well, God, they not using me, And
Right.
I don't care about all that. You can't,
None of that.
You can't take the voice that he gave me. You can't take it.
Right.
I got a built-in mic.
I can preach
Okay.
at McDonald's.
Yes.
I got a built-in
Yes.
mic.
Look,
Come on,
God will
get me.
create a platform
Yes,
for
he
you.
will, right
He
there.
will create
Absolutely.
a platform for you.
There it
to
is.
say whatever needs to be said, to do whatever needs to be done. He will create a platform
But let me
for
tell you
you.
something else. It's not always the platform. Look at Philip. God took him out of a mighty revival to minister to one person. The real ministry is not platform. You can stand up and minister to 5,000 people and nobody touches you. Nobody
It be that
knows
one
who
though.
you are.
It be that one.
But when you reach somebody one-on-one,
One.
you
Yes.
touch them, they touch you. That's
And that reverberates, because then that person is telling
Yeah.
somebody, and somebody is telling that
Absolutely.
somebody. So that
Yeah.
reverberates. That's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's true.
That's that pastor's heart in you.
Yes. That's it.
Wrong, good.
Whoa.
Well,
Oh, that's that
woman.
one. That's that heart that leaves the 99 to
That's
go get
it.
the one.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
That's who I'm looking at. The disenfranchised.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The little person sitting in the corner, don't nobody want to have nothing to do with them, but they grab it up. I think it's in the book of Luke where it talks about the man comes in with a ring and you give him the good seat.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking
Right.
at the one sitting in the corner. Y'all don't even want to talk to. Probably need a meal and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, so
And
who you
want
want
somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Because them that are well have no need of a physician.
Come on now.
Yes, right.
So
Right.
it's about
Preach,
the
pastor.
disenfranchised.
Yes.
Go on, preach. Well, look at here. We have enjoyed this conversation. I am so glad that my sisters were here today. Tamra, we are still holding you up in
Yes.
prayers.
Love you,
Tam.
Tam.
We
Yes.
love
We
Love
you.
you,
are
Tam.
sending you love,
Love you,
hugs, and
Tam.
prayers, and
Yes.
just for
Lifting
you
you
and
up.
your family.
Yes.
Yes.
And we want to continue to celebrate women, continue to celebrate and break
All
down
year
those
round.
biases, break down
Yes.
those gender biases,
Break the
and,
bias.
and any other bias that you might have, because God can use anybody to do anything for any reason that He
Right.
has,
Yes.
and He has purpose in everybody. It doesn't.
Yeah, see, there you go. She taking us out, y'all.
Remember David Burchett you sing that?
Which one?
God can't use you sitting down. God can't use you sitting down.
Get up from there, sit down, get up from there. We are grateful that you joined us today. Listen, let God use you wherever you are, whoever
Yes.
you are.
Boy or girl.
Yes.
Boy or girl.
No matter who
Boy
you
or
are,
girl.
God
Yeah.
can use you, and there is purpose for your life. Thank you
5
for
to
joining us
105.
today. We love you. Take care and goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Sunday after service inspirations with Nikki Jones. Nikki Jones. Sunday after service inspirations with Nikki Jones. Mrs. Jones. Sunday after service inspirations